And Jazakallah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you to this session on the use of the artificial intelligence, leveraging AI for assurance and strategic performance. So we warmly welcome you to join this webinar, and I'm sure you would have very relevant takeaways at the end of this session. I warmly welcome President ICMA Pakistan, Mr. Ghulam Mustafa Qazi, FCMA, who has graced this event as the guest of honor. Thank you very much, sir. I also welcome Dr. Sayed. He is a renowned professional holding the PhD in information security along with many international certifications. Over the last 15 or so odd years, he's been serving in one of the renowned organizations and providing trainings and various upskilling opportunities to accountants and other professionals to make sure that we are actually using the latest technology. As we are aware that in today's rapidly evolving business landscape, digital intelligence and AI are redefining the way accounting and finance professionals work. In order to uncover how leveraging AI-driven tools can enhance audit quality, strengthen internal controls, and enable data-driven strategic performance, the National TSPD Committee of ICMA Pakistan has brought this webinar to explore how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing assurance, decision making, and performance management. So I would not take much of your time, and I will actually request Mr. Ghulam Mustafa Qazi, FCMA, President ICMA Pakistan, to start this session formally with his enlightened remarks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Qazi Sahab. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Qazi Sahab, Director, Technical Support and Practice Development Committee. The trainer of today, Dr. Sayed Sahab, very renowned expert on AI and technologies. Today is a very important session, especially for the accountants, focused on accountants. And as you know that the technology has driven every profession, and it has actually changed every profession. And now without adoption of the technology to whatever you are doing professionally, whether you are an accountant, you are a marketer, or you are doing any job. So it is very important to incorporate technology to your life, whether it is personal life or professional life. Artificial intelligence has become more important, and as you all know that ICMA has recently announced its new syllabus, new curriculum for 2025, and we have incorporated generative AI, digital analytics, blockchain, and such technologies, considering that these are very important and needed for the professional accountants in the years to come. That's why we have focused on the professional development of the members in these latest technologies, and that's why this webinar is being conducted. And you know that the AI is new, and International Federation of Accountant and regional accountant regulators such as South Asian Federation of Accountants, they are actually working on how the technology will affect the professional accountants and how a professional accountant should use these technologies, because we have many things to consider before we adopt any technology, and it means that we need to take care of the ethical use of the technology, and then realistic use of technology, and taking care of the local laws as well as the governance principles which we have to follow. So this webinar will focus on the very important role of accountants and how they will proceed using artificial intelligence in their professional work. So I'm thankful to to Syed Sahab for gracing us today's event, and I'm sure that the participants will uh, learn from his experience, from his presentation, and it will be a very beneficial session for all of you and us as well. So I will not talk long because I have to attend International Federation of Accountants uh, meeting, and that is just about to start. So with this, I will conclude my remarks and will hand over the rostrum to Kazi Sahab. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you so very much for sparing some of your valuable time with us. I know you had a very, very important schedule going around. तो मैं इन्हीं रिमार्क्स के साथ डॉक्टर साहब को वेलकम करता हूं। डॉक्टर सैयद साहब माशाल्लाह, आई थिंक ये आज हमें एनलाइटन करेंगे, हमें बताएंगे कि कैसे हमारे कंसल्टेंट्स ऑडिट एंड इंश्योरेंस, फाइनेंस और डिफरेंट एरियाज ऑफ अकाउंटिंग एंड फाइनेंस एआई को और डिजिटलाइजेशन को हम अपना एक स्ट्रॉन्ग टूल बना के हम अपनी कंसल्टिंग जो है ना सर्विसेज उनको बेहतर बना सकते हैं। So, Dr. Saab, thank you very much for joining us and sparing your valuable time. We truly appreciate your time and actually bringing this unique topic. And actually, we are going to make series of these topics with you, inshallah, in future as well. So, Dr. Saab, the floor is yours. मैं सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहूंगा participants को कि if you have any questions, please type in the chat. And at the end of this session, we will collate all the questions. Then we will get the responses from Dr. Saab and his associated team. और फिर हम आपको एक collated version जो है ना, that will be shared with all of you as well. क्योंकि time is very limited, तो डॉक्टर साहब आप हर एक बंदे का जवाब शायद हो सकता है कि इस सेशन में 1 by 1 face to face आंसर करना जरा मुश्किल हो जाएगा। तो डॉक्टर साहब will keep focusing on his presentation. Maybe शायद एक दो important सवाल वो ले लें, लेकिन बाकी जितने भी सवाल हैं वो rest assured we will actually provide you a proper response afterwards. So डॉक्टर साहब, the forum is yours, sir. All the best.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Abdul Hafiz Saab. Am I audible to everyone?
Ji, Dr. Saab, you are audible very loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for the gracious introduction. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to the President Ghulam Mustafa Qazi Saab and Abdul Hafiz Qazi Saab for providing me this opportunity to share some views on this topic of the era of digital intelligence in accounting and finance, by which we can leverage AI for assurance and strategic performance. So, moving forward. Okay, so the agenda for today's session would be what is artificial intelligence? So today's session will provide a structured overview about how the artificial intelligence is reshaping finance and accounts. We will begin by defining AI in clear business terms, followed by its transformative impact on financial operations and decision making. Next, we will briefly discuss how to build a future-ready finance workforce equipped with digital and analytical capabilities. I would also like to address few of the key challenges the enterprises face when adopting the AI, including governance, security, and trust. The discussion then shifts to the leadership, exploring how the executives can strategically guide AI integration across the enterprise. At the end, I would like to conclude with the forward-looking view of the AI-driven financial ecosystem and summarizes the key takeaways. So that would be the agenda for today's presentation. So actually, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is the most key terminology that is being used in the current era. This terminology has been introduced by Dr. John McCarthy in 1956. Artificial intelligence is basically a science of developing machines that can manifest the human behavior in an intelligent way. The branch of the science of artificial intelligence can be categorized into three subcategories. The first one is the narrow AI. We may also call it the weak AI. Then we have the general AI, and then lastly, we have the super AI. What is narrow AI that we also call it weak AI? Narrow AI is related to the branch of the artificial intelligence that has applications of very specific and predefined nature. I mean to say, the narrow AI covers all those applications which has a very specific and a predefined task within a particular and a very specialized domain. The notable applications of narrow AI may include Apple Siri or Amazon Alexa that can perform voice-based assistance tasks of various kinds. The second notable application could be considered as Tesla Autopilot that has the ability to perform the driving functions, but the limitations that it has that it cannot make very broad decisions beyond the driving. Lastly, the example that I mentioned is the chatbots. It is an application of weak AI. It can reply to the queries of the customer, but it must be based upon a learned responses. What is general AI? We may also call it strong AI. General AI represents the stage where machines can behave, they can comprehend, and they can learn, and they can also apply knowledge across the multiple domains. So their learning capability is wide, and they can understand various domains of technology or the life. For instance, AI research models that are being developed by OpenAI, DeepMind, and IBM, which are mainly focused for human level cognition. Similarly, the virtual assistants, the virtual scientist, the virtual analyst that are capable of giving the reasoning and learning new skills without explicit programming. Like जैसे पहले ज़माने के अंदर हम जब कोई सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलप किया करते थे तो सॉफ्टवेयर इज ओनली केपेबल ऑफ delivering the output for which it is programmed. So the main difference between the AI is that a software or an agent could perform those tasks as well for which it has not been programmed as well. Super AI. We also call it artificial super intelligence. This super AI that surpasses the human intelligence in almost every walk of life, from innovation, problem solving, to emotional intelligence and strategic decision making. The examples could be theoretical, related to the science fiction, and can be revealed at a very later stages. Like hypothetical super intelligent systems that could develop new technologies that can govern economies or manage global crises without the intervention of the humans. Similarly, advanced artificial intelligence, we call artificial general intelligence, they may be considered as the successors capable of self-improvement, which is beyond the human thinking. Now, what is machine learning? Machine learning is a very prominent subdomain of artificial intelligence. It is a great enabler. It enables the systems not only to analyze the data, to identify the anomalies, identify the patterns that are hidden, and on the basis of that analysis, they are capable of making forecasting. They are making predictions. Machine learning allows machines not only to learn, but also to make strategic decisions independently through following three main approaches. So one of them is recognized as supervised learning. The next branch is unsupervised learning, followed by the reinforcement learning. What is supervised learning? As the name suggests, it is supervised. It means that they need data. They need labeled data to train the models of an AI for performing the task like classification, like detection of the fraud, like prediction of the ROIs of the stocks. On the contrary, what is unsupervised learning? They do not require any kind of labeled data. They can hunt the underlying patterns in the data that I already mentioned, that is unlabeled. They are capable of doing tasks which are unstructured in nature. They can do client profiling, portfolio diversification, asset clustering, etc. It is more challenging as compared to the supervised learning. In addition to that, the third main approach is the reinforcement learning. What they do, they train the systems through cyclic feedback and rewards. And by this, they tune the performance through trial and error. And by this, they achieve the optimization, such as virtual trading agents that optimize profits by learning the sentiments of the market over a period of time. So this we call reinforcement learning. Now, what is deep learning? Deep learning is the further specialized domain of artificial intelligence. We can consider deep learning as a specialized subset of machine learning that uses multi-layered artificial neural networks not only to learn the complex problems, the hidden patterns, and also performing the task by making the decisions. They have the capability to learn features from the dataset without human engineering. We call that feature engineering. So the critical difference between the deep learning and the machine learning is that deep learning based models are capable of understanding, or they are capable of doing feature engineering. They learn feature automatically from the raw data, as I mentioned, without the manual intervention. Here I mentioned the brief differences between both approaches. As I already mentioned, that machine learning requires manual feature engineering. It means On the other side, the deep learning, they do not require the selection of features by humans. They are capable to extract those features which contribute towards the decision making by themselves. The notable algorithms that we use in machine learning includes decision trees, random forest, support vector machines, and logistic regression, etc. However, the deep learning based on artificial neural networks, especially the deep neural networks, the main difference is the number of hidden layers which are responsible for the computations and learning the problems. They have multiple hidden layers. As far as the data set is required for machine learning, we require very well structured but smaller data sets. However, the deep learning requires large volume of data to generalize the learning, and they also require computationally smart hardware for that, especially like GPUs. For example, the examples of machine learning applications in finance may include credit scoring, fraud detection, risk modeling, loan approval systems. However, the applications of deep learning in the field of finance may be considered as automated trading, portfolio optimization, document analysis, and sentiment forecasting of the market. Generative AI. Generative AI, we also call it GAI. It refers to the advanced AI system that are capable of producing text, images, audio, and we may call it synthetic data. Generative AI, they combine multiple techniques of artificial intelligence, particularly and notably the NLP, we call it natural language processing, for the generation of synthetic and a very meaningful output. By doing so, we can overcome the shortage of the availability of the data set by employing generative AI for the synthetic data generation. Now, after giving you an overview about the fundamental concepts of machine learning and deep learning, I would like to introduce some most recent and most notable AI transformations and their applications in the domain of accounting and finance. They can be considered as the automation of routine tasks. What does that mean? The domain of AI, as I mentioned, it is a real enabler. It helps the humans not only to automate, not only to understand the existing business processes. It helps to perform the business process reengineering. And by this, on the top of it, it automates the repetitive business key functions that may include like data entry, invoice matching, payroll estimations, categorization of the expenses, invoice matching through tools like robotic process automation and intelligent document processing. The AI tools, for instance, FinGPT, ChatGPT Enterprise, or FinLLama, they have the capability to provide automated data entry, invoice classifications, ledger reconciliation using NLP and optical character recognition domains. Nowadays, the AI may also be used as the automation of the recruitment process as well. For instance, In addition to that, Odoo AI, that is very notable ERP, Zoho Books AI, and QuickBooks ML models, they are serving the humanity by automating the repetitive accounting workflows, real-time financial reporting, artificial intelligence-based systems. They can be integrated with the ERP platforms to provide continuous accounting, generating real-time ledgers, dashboards, financial statements for rapid and effective decision-making by the top management. LLMs, they have the capability to extract and present and formulate the summaries and visualize the performance like key performance indicators in the dashboards and generate explainable reports. For instance, Microsoft Copilot in Excel, Power BI with AI visuals, and ChatGPT plugins for dynamic P&L summaries. The next application that I would like to mention is the enhanced audit and compliance. AI-based technologies or systems, they can facilitate the auditors to perform the audit in a very effective manner. With AI, it is now possible to perform the audit not on the basis of sampling, rather on the basis of the population. We can use AI-based compliance suites to identify the unusual behaviors. It can really facilitate to identify the scams, the corruptions, the embezzlements, and helps the organization to effectively improve the compliance. Predictive analytics, they can identify the irregularities by doing the extensive analysis of the transaction logs, and then they can escalate it into material risk. So by doing so, it can really help us in identifying the non-compliance and also improving the level of compliance. Intelligent advisory and forecasting. Artificial intelligence, they assist accountants in the transition from record keepers to the strategic advisors. How? By generating insights on budgeting, cash flow forecasting, and scenario modeling using sophisticated deep learning or machine learning algorithms. They can transform raw data into actionable intelligence, performing the automation of analysis, identifying the key areas, and uplifting the precision of the forecasting. AI-driven forecasting tools, notably Prophet and FinGPT, they provide the provision to analyze financial patterns of the historical data to forecast the cash flows, profitability, and the trends of cost in the future. LLMs, very notably trained on financial data, they can give you the comprehension about the variance reports, cost drivers, and budget deviations for all C-type executives. Natural language processing. For documentation management, AI tools like ChatGPT, they facilitate the professionals not only in drafting audit summaries, management reporting, financial analysis using structured or unstructured data. Risk management and the fraud detection. AI, as I mentioned, AI is really transforming the way we live, we work. So by using AI technologies, AI models assist the top management or the technical management to perform the assessment of the credit risk, identify unauthorized transactions or illegitimate transactions. And by doing so, they can figure out the anomalies by analyzing the trends, the patterns that traditional model might miss. Real-time fraud detection, that can be proactive action. Systems now really rely heavily on machine learning algorithms. We take a short break for Azan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I was discussing how we can use AI for risk management for detection. So very notably, the AI models like Finbert, FinGPT, and Bloomberg GPT. Some of them I mentioned, they are commercial and open source as well. They have the ability to process hundreds of journal entries for identifying the outliers, to identify the fraud indicators and the violation of the regulations or the policies. Personalized financial services, artificial intelligence help hyper-personalization heavily in banking sector and the investment services. Chatbots, robo-advisors, and recommendation engines tailor products are advised to individual financial profiles. They may also be used for asset management as well. Algorithmic and predictive trading, deep learning models, they process massive datasets, market trends, social sentiments to help the business professionals to predict the asset movements and execute high frequency trades with the minimal intervention of humans. It does not mean we are replacing the humans. Organizations are shifting from reactive to proactive financial management, predicting future outcomes rather than analyzing only the past ones. And it has been only possible because of the availability of the emerging AI tools and technologies. Process optimization, cost reduction. How can we achieve this thing by using AI? AI streamlines back office operations such as loan processing, claims handling, and customer onboarding, leading to the faster turnaround and reducing the operational cost. And eventually, the customer satisfaction will be achieved. The brand will be as anticipated. Regulatory technology, we also call it RegTech. AI-powered systems automatically monitor the compliance with financial regulations, generate audit trails, and identify the potential violations. And by doing so, they eventually helping us to improve the governance and achieving the transparency in the whole business process lifecycle. As I already mentioned, that AI helps the auditors to perform the audit, not only based on the sample, but on the basis of the population. Here, I would like to mention here that by using AI, we can make the audit activity not only an occasional activity. We can transform this occasional, biannual, quarterly audit activity to be another real-time and continuous monitoring activity. And by using this, we can automatically checking compliance with accounting standards and internal controls. Open source models, they are very well fine-tuned for accounting laws like FinLama or NIST-based AI assistant. They have been very helpful, I must mention here. They help insurance compliance with IFRS, SOX, and NIST artificial intelligence risk-based management framework. By doing so, we can enhance the credibility and we can achieve the trust of investors over an enterprise. They are capable of summarizing new regulations and generating the audit checklist for internal audits and external reviews. I must mention that by performing automated analysis of the historical audit reports, we can proactively improve and significantly uplifting the compliance level of an enterprise. Conversational finance, as I mentioned, GAI, Generative Artificial Intelligence. By employing this technology, we have chatbots. I must mention the concept of chatbot was not it was first crafted back in 1960. But by 2014, with the concept of generative adversarial networks, this had not been materialized. So with the concept of GANs that we call it generative adversarial networks, that is the foundation of generative AI, we have the chatbots that now are capable of providing personalized finance advice. They give you the reminders of the payment to avoid any surcharge, and also the client support. Using natural language processing, they can understand human language, any kind of human language. They learn from interactions with the humans, and they provide more precise and real-time assistance, enabling the current digital banking more intuitive, more close to the natural sentiments. Synthetic data generation. To maintain privacy, financial institutions use GI to create synthetic data because the availability of the corporate financial data could be a regulatory concern. That is why to effectively improve the model, we need massive data. For that, we need data, and that may not be that easily accessible to us. So for that, what is the alternate? We have the GI that help humans to generate hypothetical data that is very close to reality. That's why I would not use the name hypothetical data. I call it synthetic data that replicates real data patterns without exposing the sensitive information. This helps to perform an engineer to do secure model training, testing, and collaboration without having a risk of any non-regulatory or non-compliance of a regulation or a policy. Moreover, what could be the other transformations? Application-friendly denial explanations. Currently, the banks are using GI to produce clear, transparent justifications for the rejection of the loan applications. By analyzing the information available of an applicant, these models not only craft personalized and easy to understand reasoning and justification, and hereby achieving the trust of the customer. That is the ultimate goal of an enterprise. Financial query resolution. Through advanced NLP and combination of GI, we can deliver detailed answers to the finance related queries, and we can also improve. But I must mention that currently the operations of the call center has been significantly improved by employing these robots, because they could efficiently analyze the caller language, the sentiment of the caller, the intensity of the problem, the nature of the problem, and how to respond, and only posing the relevant questions, saving the time and responding to the customer as he wants to be responded. And over a period of time, when we accumulate that data, we can, like, by using that feedback, we can more intelligently responding to the next customers. Now, agentic AI. Agentic AI and integration of agentic AI with enterprise resource planning. Agentic AI is a branch of AI that enables the professionals to perform end-to-end workflow automations. They not only assist, but they automate the complete process. They have the capability to take the decisions. Modern ERPs like Microsoft Dynamics 365, SAP, Odoo, Oracle Financial Clouds are embedding agentic AI to act as virtual finance assistants. Microsoft Copilot, Dynamic 365 Finance. It automates actually account reconciliations, generate variance explanations, and draft financial statements as per the standards and the compliance criteria using the natural language. Odoo AI Assistant, it uses LLMs for invoice extraction, customer communication, financial forecasting, etc. These are some of the few areas that I just mentioned over here. They are not only limited to these that I mentioned. Oracle Fusion Cloud AI, it assists predictive intelligence into expenses, liquidity, and working capital. SAP Joule AI, it suggests process improvements and identifies financial anomalies across the ecosystem of an ERP, and thus by improving the decision of the C-type executives. Notable models with a financial adaptation. Here I just mentioned few of them, like Bloomberg GPT, FinGPT, FinLLama, GPT Neox Finance, LLama 3 fine tunes, Mistral Finance, which can also be like categorized as Falcon Finance, FinTrell, that we also call it BirdFin. So these are the most prominent globally notable models that are available. Bloomberg GPT, it's a large language model which is trained on financial data to enhance market analysis, understanding of the news, and assisting the financials to make the decisions. FinGPT, it is an open source financial LLM designed for the real-time financial data processing, analysis of the sentiments, and just providing the insights related to the financials, personalized financials. FinLLama, a finance-focused application which is particularly and very crafted and optimized for understanding of complex financial documents and automated analytical tasks. You can customize them for your own requirements. GPT Neox, it is fine-tuned for quantitative and market language, good for research scale projects. The next one, LLama 3 fine-tunes. Several variants are available over the net. They are trained on corporate and economic text for audit and financial reporting tasks. Similarly, Mistral Finance, it's a very lightweight open model, meaning it does not require very heavy computational hardware with tune, and they provide reasoning and justification for regulatory, audit, and text processing. Similarly, FinTrial, they are used by Asian and European financial text, optimized for multilingual regulatory document processing and analysis. Now, moving towards the next section, by mentioning कि हम किस जितनी भी ये मैंने आपको AI ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की एप्लीकेशंस आप लोगों से शेयर की हैं, what skills do we require to like utilize the benefits of these technologies. So here I would like to mention that we must discuss that how can we enhance the capacity and capability of the workforce so that they can add value into the enterprise objectives. First of all, we must need to train the finance professionals and accountants over the data analytics and visualizations. For that, we must be proficient in Power BI, Tableau, and Excel AI integrations so that we can be able to drive insight from complex datasets. AI and automation literacy, that could be considered as a second area where we need to build the skills. We need to understand what is machine learning. How does NLP models works? I'm not talking about I'm not talking that we must invent the new models, but we must be knowing that how we can engineer them. How can we do the automation of a process by employing RPA? Notably, the tools I could listed here, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. They are the very notable instances of RPA, robotic process automation. Data governance and cybersecurity, very prominent area. Because one of the challenges and the problem that I will mention later on that we call hallucinations of AI, we can only address it with ethical AI. For that, we need to have a framework for data governance, and we can only do this by achieving a unified cybersecurity and data governance framework. So for that, we need to ensure how can we ensure the data confidentiality? How can we protect the data from unauthorized modification? And how can we make our systems resilient against the emerging and prominent cyber threats? In compliance with the international standards like ISO 27001, the regulations like GDPR, and frameworks like COBIT, NIST, AI8, NIST 853, and other like SOX controls. In addition to that, we must be familiar with the programming and integration capabilities. I'm not saying like very advanced level, but we must be familiar with the foundational levels. We must have a familiarity with the Python. For analytics, we can use Python for Excel now. We can use Python with Power BI. And also on the top of it, if we know how to use Copilot, the floor is yours. So we can do so many things. So we must be capable of knowing how to use Python. We must be knowing SQL for data extraction. And very importantly, application programming interface, so that we do not reinvent the wheel for system interoperability and integration. In addition to that, we must be familiar with cloud-based accounting platforms that can enable an enterprise to leverage like this transformation. Tools like Xero, QuickBooks Online, or Microsoft Dynamics 365 for intelligent financial operations. Generative AI application development is also a very prominent area that we must look into that. We can utilize OpenAI GPTs and assistant APIs to build custom finance agents for which are like tailored for our enterprise interacting with the internal data. In addition to that, ERP and workflow automation. We must be knowing how to implement Microsoft Copilot Studio, Power Automate agents, UiPath Autopilot, or SAP Joule for autonomous financial operations. AI workflow designers. We must have to build that perspective by which we can identify repetitive tasks. We can formulate the rule-based and insights-driven tasks which are suitable for automation by AI. We need to differentiate what operations we can automate. For what operations we can rely on AI. We must also be able to know whether it's the role of AI. Shall it be assistive or agentic? We must be knowing the prompt engineering and custom fine-tuning so that we can tailor the models so for our utility and benefits. We must be knowing how to tailor the LLMs, how to execute them, how to fine-tune them, identifying the parameters, the hidden layers. Finally, the fine-tuning, more like quite challenging task. However, it can be facilitated by using applications like Hugging Face, very good platform, LangChain, and an LLMI index for financial and audit context. The next thing, very prominent area, RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It helps us to apply enterprise datasets, audit trails, reports, and compliance records for intuitive justifications and explanations. Governance and ethical AI. While we are developing the AI applications, we must be able to identify the controls that must be embedded into the applications to identify, to ensure input sanitization, to perform the verification, to perform validation checkpoints, to improve the bias control and audit traceability, to ensure the audit logging, log analysis, to finally ensure the automation of trust, making an practical system more resilient against the unauthorized, illegitimate modifications and tampering. So these are the notable skill areas that we must work on. We must invest our time in these things if we want to keep up the pace with the current era. Now, taking this opportunity, I would also like to mention some of the challenges that we must keep into mind, and we also need to take those measures, controls, mitigation techniques to address those challenges that we can face or we may face while we are using or we are working on AI transformations. We need to understand them so that we can make appropriate and suitable measures to address and to cope up with these challenges. By this, we would be in a position to make our systems resilient and very trustworthy, because without a trustworthy AI system, it's just like a skyscraper building on a piece of sand. So we must be able to make our systems trustworthy, reliable, and resilient. Limited real-world complexity. The models that we were talking about, they struggle to capture the full spectrum of real-world market influencing, leading to the simplified or incomplete data simulations. And that is why I mentioned generative AI for synthetic data or generation. Agentic versus assistive AI. Like as I already mentioned, many systems today are assistive. They assist you to perform some task rather than fully automate a task, fully automating a workflow. That means an agentic. So we need to ensure the solution meets your workflow automation needs. We need to be very careful while the selection of the vendor while we are like outsourcing this task. Interoperability, deep learning model interpretability. Deep learning models often lack transparency, make their decisions difficult to explain or audit. So we must be able, like when we are developing or we are working on those projects, we must be able that we must embed this capability that we call explainable AI. Limited long-term prediction. Generative AI, they have the excellence in short-term forecasting. But what about the long-term? Will they be effective? But remains so like we must be very careful whether their forecasts remain reliable for long-term financial projections or not. It means that we shall not blindly trust on that. Overfitting. Without, what is that? Without careful training and validation. For instance, we have a limited data set. For instance, we have anomalies in data set. The data set is not reliable. It means the model we are training on the data will not be reliable. So the model may perform well on the known data, but when we expose that model against the unseen data, what will happen? The model will not perform as it shall be. It means the decision that we are taking on the basis of AI models will not be an effective decision. It could be a catastrophic decision. So we must be very careful. We must be knowing this is a big challenge. We must be able to fine tune the model. We must be able how the selection of the model. We must be knowing how to integrate the model. We must be knowing how to overcome these biasness, generalization issues, and overfitting issues. In addition to that, one of the very notable challenge that we face with the use of AI, that is, it's very resource demanding. GI requires substantial computing power. It's a very high debate going on these power issues, infrastructure, expert oversight, making it very not very economical solution to maintain. We need because the resources, the GPUs that we require for the analysis of massive data, they are very power hungry. They are computationally intensive. So they demand, if we do not fulfill their requirements, they will not work as we anticipate. Bias and ethical concerns, they may be inclined, they may not be impartial. So training data may carry inherent biases, leading to unfair and skewed outcomes. Data privacy. We must be knowing that data is an asset we need to protect. We need to ensure the confidentiality, integrity of the data by also maintaining the availability of the services. We need to take controls. We need to take measures which can avoid the misuse or the leakage of sensitive information that have been a major risk these days. There has been scams. So we must be able to identify which is benign, which is malicious. So for that, the integrity, the confidentiality, the privacy of data, the privacy of personal information, the privacy of personal health information, privacy of personal financial information, very important concerns. In addition to that, terminological understanding. While improving models will struggle with complex financial jargons, they may not be as expert as you people are. So we need to also make them at par with us. We need to make them at par so that they must understand the sentiments of the industry. Data governance and auditability. As I mentioned, we must embed some prominent and important mandatory controls to the agents that they must be able to maintain immutable logs of decisions and actions. I hope you heard of blockchain. That can be easily possible with that. We must be knowing who did an action, when did the action has been taken place, why the action has been taken place, had it been authorized or not? If it is not, what kind of integration it has been taken? We must be able to roll back the effects of the transaction and the human approval gates for finance and transactions. In order to ensure the security of the data, we must work on the principle of least privilege and low role-based access. We must give agents only very essential grant the permissions or the privileges, and we must keep them separate services. We must maintain specialized accounts. We shall not give the elevated privileges. We must be very much careful what kind of privileges we are delegating. We must be able to revoke the delegations. We must be able to monitor how they are exercising their privileges. If we do not keep an eye on that, and if it is agentic, that could be a problematic for us. Approval and human in the loop, very importantly. For high value or high risk transactions, require manager approval before finalization. It is very important check. Change management. We have to, while we are moving towards this transaction and we are making this system to roll in our organization, it means there must be an organizational inertia. So we have to cope up with that if we want to utilize the full potential of that applications. So for that, we need to train staff to trust and oversee the agents. So that means we have to redefine the roles. In addition to that, before deploying those systems, we must perform extensive testing, or we can perform the simulations, so that we must be knowing, are they really working smoothly and as anticipated. So for that, the best thing is we must have a test bed before we are rolling those systems into a production environment. Security and compliance, vendor roadmap and support. Like, there's a high probability that we must be outsourcing these services. So for that, the selection, the identification of the vendor, it's very critical, because it's a strategic risk. We must be able to make sure what are the contractual terms, what are the TORs, and we must engage the vendor to ensure that they will provide support for agentic features, and they must be incorporated into the SLS, that is service level agreements, so that we must have a clear understanding what are the commitments that must be honored. And if those contractual TORs are violated, what would be the implications? Security and compliance. We must use encryption for data security. As I mentioned, there are two states of data. Data could be at rest, data could be on cloud, data could be in transit, like we are sharing the data. So for that, we need to secure this data storage. We need to secure the data communication. For that, we must use encryption. And we must have audit trail capabilities, so that we must be knowing who is accessing the data, why the data is being accessed, what data is being accessed, what were the channels. And they are spatially like very notable requirements for PCI, payment card industry, SOX, in GDPR context. So if we are like, if we have to adhere these regulations, we must be ensuring that all these controls are incorporated into those applications. Hallucinations risk, like what are they? This is one of the big challenge. Like other large language models, ChatGPT can occasionally hallucinate. It means it can generate plausible but inaccurate or fabricated information. And sometimes we believe on that, especially when processing very visual or complex contextual inputs. So we must be knowing that whether that information is fabricated or this information is truly based on some facts. Data limitations, as I mentioned, training relies on publicly available data, making it less effective in analyzing licensed intellectual property held data and confidential or proprietary data set. They're essential to high value research. However, we must be knowing that limited data set would not generate a very high trustworthy model. However, like these limitations I mentioned, generative AI से काफ़ी हद तक ये मुश्किलात जो हैं वो दूर हो गई हैं, but even then हमें इस चीज़ का काफ़ी ख्याल करना है. Quantitative and visual constraints. While capable of reading textual data, it struggles with the precise interpretation of numerical and visual information. Mostly like जिस तरह आपकी figures जो annotated होती हैं, or the trading charts. So it becomes sometimes very difficult for the models कि वो उसको समझ सकें. So ये वो तमाम स्किल एरियाज थी जो मैंने मेंशन की कि इन स्किल एरियाज पे हम लोगों को इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. We need to invest time on these things. I'm not expecting that every one of you must be a advanced Python programmer, but I want to say that you must be knowing, like Copilot के थ्रू हम code generate कर सकते हैं. We can customize it. We can build the solution. But you must be knowing that if there is some problem, how can we rectify that problem? Or at least you must be capable of doing like some prototyping testing. So for that, we must be knowing that. Like जिस तरह पहले हम Excel के अंदर VBA use करते थे for macro application. Now it's very easy कि हम Excel के साथ Python use करें, and it will be really a wonderful experience if you use it. I hope most of you must be using those things, but and I hope they must agree with this thing that if you use Python, you would enjoy it. Now, moving forward, the role of strategic leadership in AI area. What are the key? Like I just like mentioned few areas where we need to look in. Like first of all, redefining the roles. What does that mean? It's time to redefine the roles of the professionals. The role of finance and accounting leaders is evolving. It has been evolving since too long, but in the current era, we need like a significant transition. They must be executives. They must act as a strategic advisors. They must be data centric. They must be able to use the data and AI insights collectively to guide the enterprise into forward thinking strategy, prediction the risk, identifying the business opportunities, and finally, adding the value. What are the governance touch points for C-suite? Adaptability of AI, it requires clear commitment, clear governance of the top management. So the top management, they must identify, establish oversight mechanism, and defining the accountability, establishing and setting the AI usage policies, KPIs, and finally, the data integrity. Very important. Without strong governance, it is very difficult for us to ensure innovation. So strong governance, they ensure innovation moves in step with compliance and morality. Leading transformation with vision and trust. Digital transformation is not only a buzzword. It's not just about the use of tool and technology. It's need proper crafted vision. It's about commitment of the leadership. Executives must communicate a very concise and precise, well-crafted vision of AI. They must be able to inspire the teams so that they could embrace the technology, the AI, manage the change, build the trust, and enjoy the benefits. And they must eliminate the fear that it is not going to replace the humans. We must encourage data-driven culture. We must also improve the cyber hygiene. The artificial intelligence thrives in a culture that values evidence-based decisions. The leaders should delegate powers to the employees to use data confidently, and they must empower them so that they can invest in analytical tools. Fostering a culture of technology and research, encouraging cross-functional coordination and collaboration, which will definitely turn human intelligence in a synergy and multiplying the like the value and the benefits we can anticipate. AI ethics and organizational readiness, how well an organization is prepared. As artificial intelligence is becoming more and more like penetrating into the finance and the business enterprise workflows, morality ethics must remain central. There must be code of ethics. This means we must have the mechanism to assess the transparency, fairness, impartiality, and the biasness, ensuring that AI decisions they are well aligned with corporate values, regulatory expectations, and eventually the trust of public. I must mention the strategic leadership in the current era of AI. It's not just about adopting new tools. It's about reforming, reshaping how organizations think, how they act, how they decide, and how they prosper. So, like now I want to conclude by giving you a roadmap ahead. We must, as a nation, we must build a national AI finance ecosystem. We must develop connected AI-driven finance ecosystem, integrating banks, fintechs, regulators like SECP, and also the role of academia, so that we can drive that innovation, financial inclusion, and uniformity of data across the nation or the country. Such ecosystem will definitely promote data standards, ethical AI frameworks, and innovation sandboxes where the leading technologies can be easily validated and deployed very responsibly. We must foster an environment and encourage the environment of collaboration between regulators, academia, and industry. AI in finance and accounts cannot prosper in silos. We cannot live in that. We need to break up those silos. Regulators, academic professionals, industries, everyone, they have to play their role. They must co-create with synergy policies, do research, foster the innovative environment, implement the technology, and perform its deployment. Academia, what can do? They must provide the knowledge base. Regulators, SECP, they ensure ethical oversight. Industry drives innovation, but trustworthy. And who drives industry? All professionals. So for trustworthy AI-driven financial landscape of our country, it could be a really game changer. The future of digital assurance and value creation. In the years to come, digital assurance will evolve from compliance to continuous real-time trust, reliability, and assurance. Transform assurance from manual checks to real-time digital traceability and satisfaction by using AI-enabled auditing, blockchain technology, predictive analytics that can really help us to enhance transparency, mitigating the fraud, and also detecting it in a very timely manner and uplifting the stakeholder trust. The current state of digital adoption. While digital adoption is progressing in my country, maturity varies across the organization. It's a reality. Some have automated transactions, but not yet embedded intelligence into decision making. We need to bring all enterprise at par. We need to work in a synergical environment. We must recognize where we stand today, what the global economy is expecting from us, what is our digital maturity, what is our vision, how can it help us defining the right pace and priorities for AI transformation. So the next step would be that we must move from this automation to ethically responsible, resilient, and intelligent decision making through this integration of artificial intelligence and data-driven culture. The skills, tools I mentioned, infrastructure readiness, we must be well prepared that we have to uplift that. AI transformative is not about only technology. It's not about only talking about the technology. It's about the acquisition. It's about the people. It's about the human force. It's about the professionals. It's about the capacity and capability. We must need to see how can we improve the caliber of the professionals. We really need professionals. They have outstanding work ethics. They must be trained in analytics. It's the dire need of the time. They must be very they must be forward thinkers. They must be able to take initiatives because every first step is difficult. We need to be a good planners, and we need a good commitment, and we must need to ensure and enforce an excellent governance framework. We need to build the capacity of the nation in data pipelines, analytics, cloud platforms, data governance, and cybersecurity frameworks so that we can have large-scale enterprise solutions. Entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial opportunities. AI opens up vast opportunities for both of them. We can launch fintech startup, or we can initiate the innovation within the established institutions. We need to work on both domains. AI can help us. We need to be a good friend of AI. AI enables new products, services, and efficiencies. We must need to empower Pakistan's youth, startups, and corporate innovators so that we can use AI to develop AI-based solutions that can enhance productivity, efficiency, accessibility, fostering the economic growth. So finally, concluding my today's session, what are the key takeaways, in my opinion, that I must say that we must not fear AI. We must face AI. We must not think that AI is going to replace us. AI is not replacing the professionals. It's just redefining their roles. The profession is evolving from bookkeeping to insight leadership, from paper-based control to intelligent governance, from compliance to strategic foresight. The future lies in data interpretations, strategic insight, and value creation. Let's make a commitment today that we are going to embrace digital intelligence responsibly and collectively. At the end, I would like to thank the management of ICMA, President Ghulam Mustafa Qazi Saab, and also Director ICMA Abdul Hafiz Qazi Saab for providing me this platform to share my humble opinion with this emerging topic of AI transformation. Thank you very much. ओके मोहम्मद अवैस कुरैशी साहब ने पूछा कि क्या हमें पाइथन ऑरेकल को लाजमी सीखना है द आंसर इज यस वी मस्ट एम्ब्रेस दीज टेक्नोलॉजीज सो अगर हम इन टेक्नोलॉजीज़ को एम्ब्रेस नहीं करेंगे तो हम जिन वर्कफ्लो ऑटोमेशंस की डेवलपमेंट या डेवलपमेंट मैनेजमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं इट विल नॉट बी दैट ईजी इसके अलावा दूसरा सवाल कि लाइक हाउ कैन वी इंश्योर दैट हाउ AI इज़ नॉट एलिगनेटिंग इसके मैंने आपको पैरामीटर्स बता दिए दैट वी मस्ट बी केपेबल ऑफ कि हम अपने मॉडल को प्रॉपरली ट्रेन करें उसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि हम प्रॉपरली फीचर इंजीनियरिंग करें हमारा डाटा सेट रिलायबल हो हमारा डाटा सेट लिमिटेड ना हो सो वी मस्ट बी एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई द बेस्ट मॉडल्स वी मस्ट बी एबल to craft the data. We must be able to perform data processing efficiently, train the model, and tune the model as well. By this, we can avoid these risks. Mohammad Ibad Naeem asked, Sir, how do you see if companies use AI in preparing financial statements? Absolutely, yes. There are many instances. I mentioned the models that are being used by the companies. So what infrastructure is necessary for a company to want to adopt AI in their finance department? Like, I hope कि आजकल की जितनी organizations हैं वो already technological equipped हैं. The only need to do, they need to equip their workforce with the current technological trends. Mohammad Rizwan, what should a student learn? What domains of AI? I hope कि मैं ऑलरेडी इस बात पे काफ़ी ज़्यादा डिस्कस कर चुका हूँ कि हमें कौन सी स्किल्स हैं टूल्स हैं जो कि हमें अडाप्ट करने चाहिए Umar Iftikhar, thank you very much for the comment. My question is for would be for someone have foundation to intermediate knowledge in Odoo ERP implementation, Power BI. What actionable blueprint would you suggest to start full-scale adoption of AI? I hope, like in my presentation, I already mentioned what are the skills that we need to acquire, what is the roadmap, and how does the strategic leadership, the steps they should take. So I hope this session would have been very quite informative for you. Thank you very much for the patience. And once again, I'm really grateful to the management of ICMAP for promoting the this initiative of using and embracing artificial intelligence and like utilizing the benefits of it. So God bless all of you. Thank you so much.